All right, let's dive into a really fascinating one today. We're talking about a challenge where the solution wasn't about some brand new discovery, but about looking at what you already have in a completely new way. Imagine this. You've just mastered farming. You've got food security down. And then you get hit with a problem that can't be solved with brute force, but only by completely changing how you think.
So after all that success, this is the message that drops. It's so cryptic, right? It's not a call to arms. It's not about fighting harder. It's a puzzle. And the biggest clues aren't about power, but about patience and endurance. This one sentence just changed the entire game.
And that brings us to the fifth level, which was titled simply Cancer. This was a test of debilitation, which immediately told everyone that this was going to be different. All those skills they had for farming and building, they were about to take a back seat. The participants had to switch gears, almost overnight, from being providers to being healers, basically from farmers to pharmacists.
So the instructions they got were less of a mission briefing and more like a riddle. You've got clues like buying time and the proverbial shell, which both kind of point to a defensive strategy, right? But that last line, that was the real head-scratcher.
This is where things get really clever, because a common phrase most of us just associate with, a noisy dog gets completely turned on its head. This wasn't just a figure of speech. It was a literal instruction, and it was hiding the first major clue in plain sight.
And this just brilliantly shows the genius of the puzzle. The clue was a forgotten piece of ancient medicine. The solution wasn't going to be found in some magical spell, but in nature itself. It was this huge hint that the cure would be organic, something you could literally gather or grow. The bark had to be more powerful than the bite.
Okay, so to even begin to tackle this medical challenge, the participants were given a brand new tool, the cancer system. And this wasn't a weapon or anything like that. It was a diagnostic interface, which just reinforces that shift from combat to care.
So, the system laid out these 7 key health metrics. Think of it exactly like a patient's chart in a hospital. The goal wasn't to get an enemy's health down to 0, it was to get these 7 parameters up to 100%. I mean, talk about a complete reversal of their usual objectives.
Now, here's the absolutely crucial part. This tool was universal. Yeah, it could diagnose a patient, but it could also analyze anything in their possession. This little detail, well, it would turn out to be the key to solving the entire thing.
So just as everyone is trying to process all these new rules, the challenge begins for real. A figure just staggers into camp and collapses. And the second he hits the ground, a timer appears and starts counting down from 24 hours. This theoretical problem just became a very real life-or-death crisis.
Under this intense pressure, we get to see this fascinating display of different ways to solve a problem, as each team immediately jumps into action with their own unique form of emergency first aid.
And right away, there's this really clear split in strategy. You've got Ariel, who goes for the quick, direct fix, using a powerful ability to literally burn the poison away. But then you have Kieran and Mitsuki, and they're focused on buying time, using these really clever, indirect methods to slow or drain the venom.
Meanwhile, the protagonist team relied on classic, real-world first aid. They didn't use some special power. Instead, they just followed a logical medical procedure to stabilize the patient. They contained the threat, they removed what they could, and they prevented any more damage. Just good old-fashioned practical thinking. Okay, so with the patient stabilized, the mission shifted. It's no longer just about short-term survival. Now they have to find a real cure. They had bought themselves some time, but they needed a long-term solution. And as it turns out, the answer was a lot closer than any of them thought.
And this was the big breakthrough moment. Someone realized that the cancer system could scan more than just people. The question was, what if the cure wasn't some rare magical herb they had to find? What if it was the very food they had just spent months harvesting?
And the results were just staggering. When they scanned the food, they found a direct one-to-one link with the healing parameters. The nuts, the grains, the vegetables from their farms, they were the literal ingredients for the cure. Everything they needed was already sitting in their storage sheds.
I mean, what a profound realization, right? The solution to what seemed like a magical poison wasn't another magic potion. It was nutrition. The whole challenge was about understanding the incredible power of a balanced diet.
And they didn't just throw a salad at the problem either. They actually developed this methodical, multi-stage treatment plan. First, they used oily foods to trap and contain the poison. Then, they used proteins to repair the cellular damage. After that, they boosted the body's own immune system with vitamins, and finally, they restored all that lost energy with carbs. It was a masterful piece of nutritional science.
So, this brings us all the way back to that initial clue. What was the wisdom of the proverbial shell of the crab? What was the real lesson here at the end of the day?
The core metaphysical idea here is this. Using a known organic system that you actually understand, like food, is so much safer and more effective than using some powerful but unknown medication that could have who knows what kind of side effects. It's this powerful argument for holistic, understood solutions over just risky, reactive ones.
So the crab's shell, then, it wasn't a symbol of some magical armor for a head-on fight. Not at all. It was a symbol of defense, of patience, and of endurance. It represented the entire strategy of buying time, of weathering the storm just long enough for the slow, steady, and reliable cure to actually do its work.
Ultimately, this whole story presents a really fascinating choice. Do you go for the quick fix that might carry all these unknown risks? Or do you embrace a more patient, methodical approach, using the tools you already have and understand to build a more resilient, lasting cure? It's a question with implications that go far beyond just this one challenge.